Fight Like Sugar here, and today we're talking about the Bo Jackson of boxing, Charlie Powell. Powell, a California native, recently passed away at the ripe old age of 82. Powell really deserves to be in the pantheon of multiple sport athletes like Bo Jackson and Jim Thorpe. It's just that many haven't heard about him, until today that is. Charlie Powell really is one of the greatest high school athletes this country has ever known. In high school, he ran a 9.6 second 100-yard dash. He threw a shot put 57 feet 9 and a quarter inches, a record that still stands at his high school in San Diego. He jumped over 6 feet in the high jump. He performed basketball at such a level that the Harlem Globetrotters begged him and his family for him to come and try out for the team. In 1950, he was named the California High School Football Player of the Year, and he's the only high school baseball player to have been known to have hit consistent homers out of the San Diego Balboa Stadium. That's all before he was of legal age. Incredible. And then, in that first summer out of high school, what does he do? He gets recruited by the owner of the St. Louis Browns to play minor league ball. So for that summer, he spent it with the Class B minor league team called the Stockton Ports. After about a summer, he decides, you know what, baseball isn't for me. So what does he do at 19? He takes a $10,000 job working for the San Francisco 49ers, becoming their starting defensive end. And then in his very first game, he gets pitted against the defending champions, the Detroit Lions. And in that first game in his NFL career, the first game that he's playing with pads on against grown men out of high school, without having ever played a down in college, he goes ahead and he sacks the Lions quarterback 10 times for a total of negative 67 yards. He goes on to play football for 7 seasons, 5 for the Niners and 2 for the Oakland Raiders. In total, he played from 1952 through 1961 with a 3-year gap that he took off in between 57 and 60. And while he was playing football, he was also dipping into another sport. He was boxing. He started his pro career in 1953. His final record was ultimately 25-11-3 with 19 knockouts. Probably his greatest achievement in boxing was defeating the number 2 ranked heavyweight, Nino Valdez, which helped Powell rise to the highest rank he'd ever earned, which is the 4th in the rankings. And that's at a time before all the alphabet soup commissions came around. That's when there was only one championship. One man held the championship of the world. And on that list, and in that time, he was the 4th greatest. While he was a boxer, he also shared a ring with 2 of the greatest heavyweight champs ever, Floyd Patterson and Muhammad Ali. Now, Ali, as he was known to do back in the day, had predicted that he was going to knock out Powell in the 3rd round, and that's exactly what he did. But Powell, just for that one fight, earned $12,000. That's more than he'd ever been paid for an entire season as a pro football player at the time. Is it any wonder that when Muhammad Ali was boxing, all of the biggest, baddest, toughest, best athletes were trying themselves out in the boxing ring instead of on the gridiron? 2 fights after Powell's loss to Muhammad Ali, or I should say Cassius Clay at the time, Cassius Clay went on to defeat the great Sonny Liston and then declare that he would be relinquishing the name Cassius Clay for the name Muhammad Ali. And then a couple of years later, in 1964, Powell went on to get paid $10,000 to fight Floyd Patterson. Up until that point, he'd been the youngest man to ever win the heavyweight championship. But Patterson took out Powell in just 6 rounds. Ultimately, the achievements of Powell were enough to earn him a spot in the California Boxing Hall of Fame. We live in an era of specialization, in a time when athletes focus more and more on science and numbers, and studies by folks like Malcolm Gladwell that say that we need 10,000 hours to be great at any one thing. It's difficult for multi-sport champions like Jackson, like Thorpe, or like Powell to come into existence in today because it violates so much of what has become the status quo. Even if we weren't focused on specialization, even if we didn't have this new science and these new studies saying that specialization is the key to greatness. It's hard to believe that we'd get many more men like Charlie Powell. We just don't make them like that anymore. Fight like sugar. Until next time, keep your hands up.